Welcome back. This year is dedicated to Schosser for Shlema for Mordechai Yudalei ben Rivka, Shalom Deber ben Miriam Bluma, and any of the other Chaylim amongst Klal Yisrael who needs a Refuah Shlema. May Hashem send them all Refuah Sanefesh, Refuah Saguf, and everything that they need. Take it from Yad, and we should all have our Yeshua's Hashem Kerafine, the coming of Mashiach, may it be speedily. We're going to continue from where we left off in the previous year. In the previous year, the last thing that we left off with is a concept that Emunah is not in the concept of the Eibishter giving chayis to the world, because that is considered Yediyah. And how does the Eibishter give chayis to the world? That is through Dibur. In other words, the entire existence of the world is based on the Eibishter's revelation through Dibur, through speech, which is, as we explained in the Maimer, very, very far from Mitzvosei Mohosei. Because prior to Dibur, above Dibur, there's Machshava. Above that, there is Seichel. Above the Seichel, there is Atzmos and Nefesh. And in between each one, there are countless and endless amount of levels and of distances. And therefore, the distance between Dibur until Atzmos and Nefesh is extremely distant. And therefore, when the Eibishter created the world, going from Onoichi until Aleikecha is a very, very far mahalich, something it's not recognizable from one to the next. Meaning to say that the entire existence of the world is on a mere fraction of Elikus. This is what we set up until now, which is also the concept of Memali Kolam, and this is all within Memali Kolam, and that the Eibishter fills the world and he encloses himself within the world, which means that he conceals his existence in order for the world to exist. But of course, if the Eibishter wasn't involved in every part of the existence, it wouldn't exist anymore. It would go back to its original state, which is that it doesn't exist. This is what we learned up until now, and we explained that what is the Emunah? The Emunah is that the Eibishter is far more exalted over what we just spoke about. And that comes from the Pasuk Shema Yisrael, Shem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, the Achdus HaBorei, where it's Hoya Hoy V'Yeh Ka'echad, the level of godliness where it's everything is at once, everything is unified. There's no concept of a material, physical world, because that doesn't even exist. It's Seviv Kalam, and Seviv Kalam means it's something that's abstract from the world. It's not able to even enclose itself within the world, which really means, of course, it has a connection to the world, is that we cannot reach that level on a normal plane. We cannot see that amount of elikus. It's only when we remove the material and physical barriers where we can see the Eibishter's involvement in on that level as well, as we explained on the pasuk Anecha Vayelikecha She'tisicho Me'eretz Mitzrayim. So the last thing we learned is that Soviv Kalalmin is not the same like the neshama, the life within a body. And prior to continuing within this, finishing up this ois on page Chav Gimel, Derech Mitzvosecha, before concluding this ois, I want to just elaborate a little bit on this concept of the chayis that the neshama gives the body versus how shamayim v'aretz exist. So we explained in the previous year that there's something called the neshama, the life, and the body, and they have two separate roots. The neshama comes from the Eibishter, of course, and the body also, of course, comes from the Eibishter. It has a chayis from the Eibishter, but its root is the zera shalavi ve'imoy. It's the seed from the parents, and that's its existence. And therefore, when the neshama leaves the body doesn't cease to exist because the body has a different root. What does that mean? Of course, everything needs to have a spark of a likus in it for it to exist. Otherwise, as we explained in the previous year, it would go back to its original state, which is non-existence. So if it would not have a spark of a likus, it wouldn't exist. So the fact that it exists, even though it doesn't have a neshama, even though this body just had a life a moment ago, and now it's deceased, the person passed away, and the neshama left its body, but nonetheless, the body exists. Derech Agav, we know that when a person passes away, it's brought in the Sfarim that for a little bit after the body, even though the doctors pronounced the passing, but we consider the person that the neshama is still in the body for a little bit longer. And not only that, we know that there is a little bit of life that's left in the body that even after he's buried, there's still a little bit of life of even from the neshama. There's the atzimalus. There's different parts of the body of chayis that's left within the person, so he should have an existence in this world. So there is a chayis, and what is the chayis that the body has? Of course, that comes from a likus. That also has a spark of a likus, but they come from two different places, and therefore, when the neshama leaves the body, the body still exists. Which is interesting to note, is that this is the concept of memali kolam. This is the concept of the fact that the Eibishter encloses himself within everything. That means even though the body has a soul that gives it life, the body also has memali kolam. It has a likus within it for it to be able to exist. Now we turn to Shamayim V'aretz, heaven and earth. When the Eibishter created heaven and earth, how did it come to be? It's nothing more than, to give a mashal, like a yo-yo. The yo-yo, when you throw the yo-yo out and it has a string, it has that connection to the finger. Otherwise, it wouldn't exist. You would throw it, it would leave. It wouldn't come back to you. It wouldn't have that continuation. That's exactly how Shamayim V'aretz happened. The Eibishter, through his dibur, created Shamayim V'aretz. If that dibur would just go out of, so to speak, the gilui, the revelation would come from the Eibishter, and it would just go and would, so to speak, kavayachol, to say this, to separate from the Eibishter, then it wouldn't exist anymore. The entire existence of Shamayim V'aretz, the chayis that's within Shamayim V'aretz, Chassidus explains that it is all coming from one root, one source. Because the entire existence of Shamayim V'aretz, which we see as the chayis of Shamayim V'aretz, it's not like a neshama in a body where there is a body and there's a soul. The entire existence of Shamayim V'aretz is the chayis that's within it, and that all comes from a likus, from the dvar havaya, mechaya, mehaves, the entire bria. And that's the vayomer Hashem yiyor, vayomer tachi oretz desha, all the vayomers that we have in the parsha of Bria So'ilam. That is the dibur that gives it existence on a constant basis. So when we're talking about the Eibishter Seviv Kalalmin, and we're talking about the Brias Shamayim V'aretz, the way the Eibishter is involved in his creation on a much greater level than Memali Kalalmin, it's not like the body and the soul. Because the body and the soul, as we see, we said in a couple shiurim ago, that from my own existence I see a likus, so I see it. I have a body, I have life within it. I understand that it comes together. And I know, and the same thing as Shamayim V'aretz, I see the life, that it needs life in order for it to exist. That's Memali Kalalmin. The concept of Seviv Kalalmin is that it's far more exalted than that. As we see, we quoted before, it will be batel, Ka'ir HaShemesh, we're approximately 18 lines on the top of the page. When we're talking about heaven and earth, its existence is from Me'ayin, it's Me'ayin HaMuchlat, which means from the ultimate nothingness. Ayin HaMuchlat means the nothingness that existed here before everything. Because ultimately, what really existed before the existence of heaven and earth? Nothing. That nothing is the Eibishter. The Eibishter was the only existence, which means, by definition, that nothing else existed. So therefore we call it Ayin HaMuchla, the ultimate nothingness, because that is what was existing beforehand. The ultimate thing that was existing before the existence of the creation is nothing. So we call it Ayin HaMuchla, the ultimate nothingness. So heaven and earth came from the ultimate nothingness. This is all batel mamash, meaning it's ultimately nullified, like the light of the sun within the planet of the sun itself. And this is what we say in davening. We say Einoid, Einoid Milvadoy, or we say Einoid in the end of Aleinu. She'ein afilu dover tofel rak le'inenu histir li'isnira ki'ilu him nifradim chulu. That it's not even as if it's nullified, it's secondary to the Eibishter. Rather, the only thing is, to our eyes, he concealed himself that it should seem like they're two separate entities. What does that mean? means that when we look at heaven and earth, we think that heaven and earth has its own existence, has its own chayas, has its own. It looks like a world. It looks like something that's running. It's an amazing experience. We see it to our eye that it seems like it, but truthfully, it's not even tafel to the Eibishter. It's not even secondary to the Eibishter. Why? Because it's not even like he says before. That it's like the light of the fire, the light of the sun, as if when it's within the planet of the sun itself. Which means, the Chassidus brings down many times as mashal, that the light of the sun has no value, has no existence within the sun, because the sun is the source of its light. What existence does the light of the sun that we have down here in the sun itself? Of course, there's no existence. That it doesn't exist. It doesn't even come to mind. It doesn't come to be. And how much more so the heaven and earth? They're not even tafel. They're not even secondary. They're not even like the Kader Hashemesh. That's a mashal. In the Nimshal, they're even less than the Kader Hashemesh and the Oir Hashemesh beguf Kader Hashemesh. So the only thing that exists over here is that the Eibishter caused it, that we should think that it exists. That's the whole. It's a trick on the eyes, so to speak. Chometz is Bible Kutei Amon Chedik Beis Perek Vav V'Ayin Sefer Yeshamon Perek Zayin V'Duk Shometev. As the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. Vezu ha'emunon isyachdu l'Yisrael levad. Now we start off saying, what is the emunah that the Michlo de Meimnusa, the Matza, gives us faith? What is the faith that we get? So this is the faith. The faith is that the Eibishter is far more exalted than anything that we're talking about, Brias Shamayim V'Oretz, and that it's not like the guf and the chayis that gives it life, like the life in the body. That the Eibishter's existence transcends the entire universe, the entire creation. It's far beyond anything that exists. It's something that's above our comprehension, really. Meaning to say, there's something that's dominant, a likus, that in that existence, there wouldn't be a finite existence of any other creation, of anything, but the Eibishter. That emunah, this concept is the emunah that we as Yidden have. And we alone have this emunah. Why is it as such? Ki umois ha'olam, the nations of the world, they call the Eibishter the God of gods. What does this mean? That he is the first and the root power to all the powers that exist from him. Meaning to say, yeah, they believe in an Eibishter, but they believe that the Eibishter gave koyach to, so to speak, teva, and he gave koyach to science, and he gave koyach to physics, and he gave koyach to a lot of different inyanim that we think that they are, that we think that the goyim think that they have power. And that's why they call the Eibishter the God of all gods. What does it mean, the God of gods? They don't believe that, not necessarily do they believe that there's so many gods, because literally they're not saying that science is a god, but what they're saying is that this item, this entity has a power that comes from the Eibishter. In other words, the Eibishter allowed him to have a power. It's almost like to say, it's brought down a lot of times that when that everything is only kegarzim biyad ha'chitziv. When we're talking about the likada likaya, when they used to serve the shemesh and the yoreach and the kechovim and the mazolis, when they used to serve avodah zarah, so what was their mistake? The mistake was that it's only kegarzim biyad ha'chitziv. It's like serving. It's like thanking the axe that chops down the tree instead of the wood chopper, instead of the person who's chopping it. Or, for example, it's like thanking the waiter for cooking the food. The waiter only brings the food from the kitchen to your table. He waits at the table. That's it, he does. So thanking him for cooking the food is missing the point. It's mixing up what is the true chayis, where the chayis comes from, versus what is the function of the middleman, so to speak, the intermediate. What does it mean? It's not that there's an intermediate between the Eibishter Chas v'Sholom and the worlds. No, of course not. But they thought that there is an intermediate. They think that there is something that's in between the Eibishter. The Eibishter allowed, for example, the Eibishter allows the sun to have chayis, to have koyach to shine, and the sun gives chayis to the world for its growth, for its product to grow, and it gives life for the vegetation, etc. And therefore we know As you could see, and just walk outside, a place that has sunlight will have proper growth, will have a proper tree, etc. If it's growing in the shade, it will not grow properly because it needs the sun. It also needs the moon. We know that it needs the function of the stars in order for it to have proper vegetation. But for somebody to mix up and think that the Eibishter gives, so this is what they think. What do the Goyim think? That the Eibishter gave chayis to the sun. He gave koyach to the sun, that the sun should give koyach to this vegetation. And therefore they're thanking the sun. That the sun is as if the sun has power to give to it. But the sun is nothing more than just like the garzim b'yad ha'chitzav, like the axe in the hand of the person who's chopping the tree. Or the waiter that's serving the food. It's nothing more than just a intermediate, a carrier out of the function what the Eibishter wants it to be. What does that mean? That the Eibishter wants the vegetation, he wants the vegetables to grow and the trees to grow, to blossom. The Eibishter created a sun. And the Eibishter made the sun have chayis that it should be able to shine to the world. The sun doesn't do anything on its own. It's from the Eibishter. The Eibishter causes the sun to have heat. But what is the sun? The Eibishter. What is the heat? The Eibishter. Everything is the Eibishter. It's not that there's certain, the sun is nothing. The sun is nothing more than kegarzim b'yad ha'chitzav. That, of course, nobody in the right mind would thank the axe for chopping the tree. It's nothing more than just the tool that the wood chopper is chopping the tree with. And that's what the sun is. But the Goyim think, that there is a koyach rishayim which is called Eibishter. And that Eibishter gave koyach power to other existences. And today, when we don't have Avodah Zarah as dominant as it used to be, but the Avodah Zarah today is in exchange for many other things. For example, science and physics and all these inyanim are somewhat of Avodah Zarah. It's thinking that that we could control the nature, that we can control. If there's anything, the current situation that we're living through is a very strong reminder of how much we have no control over what happens in this world. Of how the Eibishter really runs the show and runs the world. But Baruch Hashem, the Eibishter in his own Torah, the Eibishter was Makdim Refuah Lamako. The Eibishter brings the cure before he brings the pandemic, before he brings the illness. And we hope that the doctors and the professors discover this medicine quickly so everybody could be healed quickly and swiftly without any harm along the way. But we could see this is a very strong reminder that the Eibishter is Balabas. The Eibishter is the power of all existence. There's nobody else that could even play a role. There's no intermediate role between the Eibishter and the world. There's no such an existence. Let's continue inside. Nonetheless, the Goyim, or people who don't understand the function of how the world came to be, they think that the world is an existence for itself, and it's mechashvin like a neshama and a guf. We need to say, like the life in the body, as we said before. The what? That even if the soul leaves the body exists. Why? Because the body has an existence for itself. And this is what they think is the way the world works. But they're making a mistake, like we explained in the previous year, is that where does it come from? Shamayim v'aretz, its root is the Dvar Havaya. If the Dvar Havaya is not there, the heaven and earth would cease to exist immediately as if it never existed before. But the Eibishter, which he is exalted and above it all, he notified to us the truth, because that the Eibishter is one, and there's nothing but the Eibishter literally. That the entire world is really nothing. It's void. It's not in existence, relatively, of course, to Likus. And it's not like a body and a soul. Because the Eibishter himself is far greater and exalted over this world. And he doesn't give life to the world like the way the neshama gives life to the body. That when the body needs to live, there's a soul in it that gives it life, and then the soul leaves the body, and the body dies, and it goes back, but the body still exists. No. That's not how the Eibishter gives life to the world. Elon, so how does this world gets its life? It gets its life, its chayis, al yidei shu sevev kolam. That the Eibishter is abstract from the world. There is a concept of Memali Kalam in the way the Eibishter conceals himself within the world, and it gives it its chayis in order for it to exist. But that chayis comes from a higher source, which is called Seviv Kalamin. The way the Eibishter is separated from the world, the way the Eibishter is above, or Seviv means he surrounds, he circles the earth, meaning to say he's separated from the earth. It's the existence. What does it mean separated from the earth, or abstract from the earth, or circles the earth? What does that mean? It means that existence where the Eibishter is, the world would not be able to exist. It's the infinite power of the Eibishter, the Echad, Yochid, Yuchad, the Hoya Hoy V'Viyya Echad at once. That's what gives chayis to the world. That's what gives chayis into the Memali. It's the Havaya that goes into the Elikenu, or the Onoiche Havaya Likecha, the Havaya that goes into the Likecha, or the Shema Yisrael Havaya in Elikenu, and that's how the world exists. And this that gets enclosed in the world, for the world to exist, is only a small ha'ara, meaning a small little sliver of alikus. Levad mibchinas dibur, that we explained in the previous year, the bchina of dibur, the bchina of speech, the small little bit of revelation. And revelation, as we explained in the previous shiurim, is something which is chutz mimenu, it's outside of the person himself. It's outside, so to speak, of alikus. And that is called memali kalamin. In other words, in the existence of the world, when we see the world, what we see is memali kalamin. In other words, what does it mean we see memali kalamin? We see that the table exists, the chair exists. We see that we know for a fact, the mathematical conclusion, that there's alikus that gives it chayis. That is called memali kalamin. But truthfully, what is giving it chayis? Seviv kalamin. The alikus, the state of alikus, which transcends the world. The state of alikus, which is greater and exalted from the world. That's really what gives it chayis. Seviv kalamin. As we're going to explain in a moment. And as you can look in the Likutei Amarim Chelik Beis and Sha'ar Yichud V'Emunah, where it explains these concepts in a very clear manner. The manner, the way the Alter Rebbe explained the Sha'ar Yichud V'Emunah is fascinating. It's worth it for everybody to learn Sha'ar Yichud V'Emunah properly. If you haven't learned it yet, you should take a Sefer Sha'ar Yichud V'Emunah. Actually, I have on the shelf over here Shiurim B'Chassidus from Reb Zalman Gopin, which is a Sha'ar Yichud V'Emunah. I highly recommend the Sefer. It's an unbelievable Sefer explaining the Parakim of Sha'ar Yichud V'Emunah. But I want to just stress on this point. What is the Nekuda? What's the difference between Memali and Seviv Kalamin ultimately? The idea is we are fortunate enough that at times we're able to experience Seviv Kalamin. We're able to experience where we see elikus, we pashat see elikus. For example, you look at the Rebbe and you're able to see elikus, as the words of the Rebbe is elikus melubash aguf. You see godliness that's enclosed within a body. What does it mean melubash aguf? It means that you look at the Rebbe and you see that the Rebbe transcended the world, the Gashmizdika world. The Rebbe was not a Gashmizdika being like the rest of us, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Igeras HaKodesh, in Simchav Zayin of the Igeras HaKodesh, after the passing of Ramendel Horodoker, about the life of a tzaddik. Einam Chaim Sorim Kim Chaim, but the life of a tzaddik is not the life of flesh and blood, mere flesh and blood, but rather it's Chaim Ruchnim, it's life, it's spiritual life, it's life, godly life, which is Torah and Mitzvas, Torah and Ma'asim Tevim, as the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. So we're privy to be able to see Seviv Kalamin. We're able to see in this world, for example, in the Beis Hamikdash, in Kodesh HaKodashim, where the Mokim HaOrin was Inu Min Amidah, that location was Elikus. That location was Seviv Kalamin. That location was Echad, Yachid, Miyuchad, was Hoyai V'Viyya, everything at once, that was the location. Meaning to say that you can have such experience. If a person is Onoiche Hashem Elokecha She'yitzicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim, as we explained in the previous year, if you leave your Mitzrayim, you're able to experience the Onoichi, not just the Havaya, not only the Seviv Kalamin, but Onoichi Atzmus Musa. You're able to reach the highest point of the Gus, which means like a Rebbe. The Rebbe who lived in a different in a different plane. He lived in a different world. He was, of course, as explained in the Shama, but I want to mention a story that happened. I believe it was in 1965 in Tafshin Chofei. I think it's printed in the back of Sichas Kodesh of Tafshin Chofei. There was once a group of college students that came once to the Rebbe Nichidus, and one of the college students asked the Rebbe, "Is it true that you're a miracle worker? That you're able to perform miracles that are not from nature?" So the Rebbe responded to him. The Rebbe didn't respond yes or no. As far as my recollection goes, the Rebbe responded to him that the truth is anyone can. If you live in a nature world, in a world that's dictated by the laws of nature, so you're bound to the laws of nature. But if you lift yourself above the world, the laws of nature, then you could live and you could perform in yonim which are above nature. That simple back and forth, that simple question and answer teaches us a tremendous lesson. We could have Seviv Kalaman in this world. We could have this experience of Seviv Kalaman, which means that the Eibishter exists and nothing else exists. You want to see that? Look at the Rebbe. Look at Shabbos and Yom Tov. Look at, in our world, look at Shabbos and Yom Tov. Shabbos is a day that the Eibishter exists. If you want, you could experience that. But for you to experience that, you have to leave your Gashmizdika world and Gashmizdika state of mind behind. You have to be able to be willing to transcend yourself, to be able to transform yourself, that you should be able to experience this godly experience. And that is the idea of Seviv Kalaman. Seviv Kalaman is a state where everything is alikus. That the physical world does not really matter. It doesn't really exist. When the world exists, then you're in a level of Memali Kalaman. You know that the Eibishter exists. You know that the Eibishter gives it chayis. And therefore the world is existing. When you're in a state that the world exists by you, that's a level of Memali Kalaman. When you're in a state that alikus exists by you, then you're in a state of Seviv Kalaman. And that's a simple difference between Memali and Seviv. I want to begin the next dose. So this is all explaining what emunah is, what the faith that we as Yidden are gifted from the Eibishter. This is the emunah that we are meant to have in the Eibishter. That what the Eibishter transcends all the worlds. The Eibishter is far above and exalted above this concept of chayis to the worlds, and that is the emunah that we have in the Eibishter. The Eibishter gives chayis through Seviv Kalaman, and the Eibishter is above and beyond the existence of the world. It's the state where godliness exists. Base. So, Mitzvas Vachilas Matza shenitztavu b'nei Yisrael b'Mitzrayim, and this is the mitzvah of Matza that the b'nei Yisrael were commanded in Mitzrayim. Ki Mitzrayim, in b'chusrei amunah, and now b'chusrei amunah in Mitzrayim, the Mitzrayim, the whole concept of Egypt and the Egyptians is that they lacked, or the Yidden in Mitzrayim, they lacked emunah. They lacked faith in the Eibishter. And in order to take the Bnei Yisrael, to take the Yidden out of such a state of mind and bring them to the ultimate faith, so what happened between Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah? The story of the matzah. The story, meaning to say, the whole idea of why we eat matzah today happened when between Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. In other words, they left their confinement. They were heading to this transcending experience, which is Matan Torah. What brought the two of them together? Achilas matzah. Eating the matzah, michal damei minusa. So, hoya idea matzah sheyanikor michal damei minusa shebo v'al yoda yagiu v'tikru b'liboisam emunazu. That, and I don't know if it's a diuk of the Tzemach Tzedek, but it's seemingly to me a diuk in the Tzemach Tzedek what he says, shebo v'al yoda. That it, meaning the matzah itself, and through the matzah, which is the two opinions of the Chinuch and the Zohar, meaning to say that the matzah itself, like according to the Zohar, gives you faith, or through the matzah, meaning through the story that the matzah is telling, gives faith to Bnei Yisrael, and that's what etches the faith within their hearts. So the matzah plays the role of in between Yetzias Mitzrayim and Matan Torah. Why is it? What's so unique about this matzah? What's so special about matzah that matzah could give faith to Bnei Yisrael? What is in the ingredients? What ingredients do we put into the matzah that matzah is feeding us faith? We eat many foods, and many of the foods are mitzvahs. For example, eating food on Shabbos being Karasal Shabbos Eineg, there's a mitzvah to eat on Shabbos, to drink on Shabbos, to eat on Shabbos. As the Alter Rebbe explains in Likutei Torah, that eating food on Shabbos is a mitzvah. It's every part of it is gedusha. It's a likus. You have on Yom Tif, that's ein simcha lebasa, ein simcha lebeyayin. You have the mitzvah of simcha on Yom Tif, and you have to eat food and you have to drink wine. Making kiddush is a unique mitzvah. It's food. So what's so special in the ingredients of matzah that dafke matzah feeds us faith? Dafke matzah, something that matzah gives us. The matzah is different. The flour and water, of course, there's no other ingredients but flour and water. But the flour and water mixed together creates this combination that's called emunah. What's so special and unique in this matzah? B'ezras Hashem will continue that in the next shir. Stay tuned. B'ezras Hashem will continue another time. I want to again conclude that during these dire and pressing times, we daven for Klal Yisrael, for people that we know, and for those who we don't even know, but being that the entire Klal Yisrael is one mishpacha, one family, we daven that each and every one of Klal Yisrael should have his refuah, B'korev mamish, should have his complete and healthy recovery without any meniz ve'ikuvim, and we shouldn't know of any tzaras anymore, any bad news. And the Iker is the Eibishter should send us Yeshuas Hashem Kerafine. The salvation of the Eibishter happens in the blink of an eye, and we should be all zeicha to the coming of Mashiach b'mheira v'yameinu mamish. And being that we're coming close to Pesach, we say v'neichal sham min azvachim min apsachim, that we should be able to celebrate the Korban Pesach in Yerushalayim Kodesh. The Bias Mashiach Tzidkenu b'Korev mamish. Take care.